Thank you, Jessica. And let's give another round of applause to all of our brilliant demos this morning. They were great. So as all of us in the room have heard more about how AI can basically just make all our lives a little bit easier, but also ensure that regulation, financial services, and information is accessible to more people than ever before. So I hope you've enjoyed hearing these explorations of AI. I sure did. But before we go to lunch, don't head off just yet. We have one more panel where we will be further discussing the opportunities that AI presents. So I'd like to welcome my panelists to the stage. So for those of you who don't know, I'm Madhvi Mavadiya, Head of Content at Finextra. I'll be joined by Pritam Basu, Founder and CEO of Boseman, Rob Scott, Chief Revenue Officer at LatentBridge, and Derek Freel, Google Cloud UK Head of Fintech. Might join you over here. So we're all together. Great. Well, thank you so much for joining us. So this panel is on cloud banking and empowering financial services. So why are we talking about cloud when we've spoken about AI for the whole of the morning? So before we get into that, it would be great if each of you could present or just let our audience know how cloud and AI impacts your role currently. Derek, would you like to go first?
I'm not sure if I picked the best seat or the worst seat.
You're right in the middle.
We'll find out in a minute.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for having us here, Innovate Finance. I think this is our 5th time at this, maybe even more, Jeremy. But I'm Derek Freel from Google Cloud specifically. Been at Google for 10 years. Focused on fintech for the last 7. And we got things rolling in 2015, 2016 in the fintech space. And started to work with the likes of Monzo and Starling and Revolut, all those household names now. They certainly weren't household names then. And it's interesting, looking across the exhibitors and the speakers, it's probably safe to say about 2/3 of those are working with Google Cloud in some capacity, which is super exciting. And that comes in lots of different shapes and sizes. Could be an infrastructure cloud that we're helping build, or a data cloud, or a collaboration cloud. And that's our bread and butter, or it has been until the last couple of years, really, because AI is everything. It's almost like the answer is AI. What's the question?
Yeah.
And last week we had our global conference called Next, which was only 8 months since the previous one. And our CEO, Thomas Kurian, came on stage, and he was talking about the pace of change. And what we're seeing at Google Cloud is in the last 8 months, so in between conferences, we have had over 1,000 product enhancements and advancements in that short window of time. And our customers are driving that, and it's super exciting to work with customers in this space. And AI, my final point, was typically on the priority list for a CTO about 2 years ago. But now, if AI isn't on the priority list for a CEO, then there's a real gap, real gap. And the momentum of 40,000 people coming together at this Next conference last week, and all the positive feedback you're seeing in the press is just a sign of how involved we are as an organization in trying to help organizations grow and truly leverage AI in a safe, responsible way.
Lovely, thanks, Derek. And I guess we have Pritam, same question to you. You are a CEO who is prioritizing AI.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll just give some background. I'm the founder and CEO of Boseman, and we focus entirely on building 0 to 1 type new financial technology on the consumer side and infrastructure side. We kind of have a unique model of, we've got a network of 300 of some of the very best guys across London and Silicon Valley who have previously worked at big tech companies like Google and Revolut, Monzo, etc. And we kind of put together teams to build, after researching deeply, like consumer problems and infrastructure problems in different countries. And we typically spin off a company and find a partner in the country we're operating. Like for example, in LATAM, we'd work with like an enterprise or a group of entrepreneurs who come from big tech, and we'd co-own part of the company with them, and they would actually run it. So that's our model. And generative AI has like completely overtaken the conversation right now. We think there's a huge opportunity. A lot of people talk about sort of the middle and back office processes and these human-driven heavy processes and tools for employees, but and all that opportunity is there, and it's definitely going to improve sort of the cost structure for banks. But we see a huge opportunity to kind of reinvent a lot of consumer-facing products. And one of the most exciting things we're working on is on-device financial advisor. And the good thing about being on-device, I know this is about cloud, but means you can share your personal data while that data remains on the phone. So it's sort of opportunities like that. And you can kind of see with Microsoft and Google, they're spraying generative AI over their existing products. And we want to see more of that in financial products, and we're working on that.
Lovely, thank you. Rob, same question to you.
Yeah, hi. I'm Rob Scott, Chief Revenue Officer at LatentBridge. You saw a presentation earlier in one of those. I've spent my career in investment banking, brokers, running global operations and tech and businesses. And what do we get involved? We have a professional services piece, but we also develop product around RPA, AI, and I think you're right, there's definitely a buzz at the moment around Gen AI models. So we help banks and financial service companies, lawyers, wealth managers to basically help in their digitalization aspirations. All of them are on a digitalization journey of some description, and we're helping both sort of consulting as well as products that address some of their needs and make it easier to automate and identify and automate services.
Lovely, thanks Rob. So just picking up on your point that you made around digitalization journeys, I guess would you agree, Rob, that when financial institutions or the financial services industry first started migrating some of their workloads to cloud, that sort of journey that they had to take, can a similar journey be applied to how people are using AI today?
Yeah, I think, cloud has been quite transformational. If you understand anything about financial services, the world of financial services, they're on technology that is at its core probably 35, 40 years old. So there is an absolute need to transform, and moving to cloud can automatically get them 20% efficiency in cost and processing. Yeah. But I think the use of AI now is incredibly important, and giving tools to people on the business side that can interrogate data. I mean, data is core to everything. Structured data, however you want to determine it, is core to anything. But yes, it can be quite transformational. And if you think about the way the banks operate with their products and services, much of it is marginalised now. There's not much value added in going from one bank to trade FX to another. So what do you need to develop? You need to develop products and services, new products and services around your clients based purely on data insights. And if you think what a financial service company has, it has everything. It has your bank account, it has your patterns, it has what you're spending on, your loans, it knows when you're coming in to transact with it, all sorts of things. And if it can use that quantum of data and provide toolkits to business users to interrogate that, that will drive new products and services and a little bit more personalization and actually, far more efficient and productive.
Amazing, thank you. And Pritam, you were making points around data as well. So as Rob said, we're moving towards new products and services. Do we need new AI? So is it only generative AI where we can push these new products and services forward, or does it depend?
So, I mean, things are changing every week. There's a new paper every day that seems groundbreaking. All the guys we know in the Valley building stuff, which hasn't even hit the media left yet, sounds completely groundbreaking. There seems to be this notion now that if you spend, at least amongst some people, Sam Altman included, that they have like AGI within reach if they simply had the compute power in the world. So all that stuff's happening. I think it'll be easier for a startup to just start from a blank slate than a bank messing around they'll have to cleanse their data. First, hopefully the bank has some data in the cloud. And then you'd have to clean it, prepare it, and Google Cloud, I'm sure, have great tools that they're thinking of building or already deployed to help with that. But I think the folks that start from sort of white canvas will find it a lot easier than the banks will, unless the banks decide to sort of say, okay, this is too convoluted and this is too complex, we're going to start this new sort of product from a blank slate. I think that would probably work better. But the field is changing very fast, and Gen AI does have issues. It has hallucinations. That's very difficult to rely on for building a financial service consumer-facing product. Fine for employee tools. Even folks who use like ChatGPT, I think there was some survey which showed that it was a very, very low percentage that actually trust the initial answer. So all those things need to be solved. And the next step after Gen AI that at least we hope we'd see, and it probably would be a different model, is actually using agents that do things rather than just give you information so that you can do things. And that would really help on our financial advice use case, because then you can just do things for the user. So, yeah.
Yeah, thank you. Because I guess, like you said, you know, there's so much that's groundbreaking happening, but not everything can be groundbreaking. We actually need to get stuff done. So I guess, and also you mentioned that maybe it is hard to create a consumer-facing AI product, but you know, for employee services, it can be done. So I guess that sort of reminds me of the cloud as well, where workloads were like HR workloads were migrated to the cloud first.
Yes, so the internal employee tools is the low-hanging fruit. Your developers will become a lot more productive using sort of a co-pilot, and you can build some custom tools for your employees, and you will see some efficiency gains from that. But I guess the question is it game changing? So,
yeah, exactly. And I guess how can a bank, as Pritam just explained, it is difficult what we're all trying to do here, but how can you use AI to offer best-in-class client experiences and deliver business results and adopt AI-centric workflows? How can you do all of that?
We've been a bit light on using cliches, so maybe we'll volunteer the first one. And it's all about a journey, right? So, cringe alert. But why I say that is because if you're a legacy bank, or even if you're a neobank with a clean slate, you still have to make sure that step one is that you're focusing on problems that AI can actually solve. Because we see in our variety of customer engagement so much enthusiasm, but there's sometimes a misguided understanding of what problems AI can actually address. So we run a lot of hackathons where we're trying to discover different use cases as part of the hackathons, and then we run the hackathons off the confirmation of those use cases. But that exercise in itself is really helpful for these banks. And then the other key point, and it's again a different challenge for startup banks or neobanks and legacy retail banks, is the quality of the data itself. If you don't have that, then the AI models will not be effective, 100%. And then the overarching requirement, especially in financial services, is security. So instead of the classic IT model of the moat and the castle, don't trust anyone in the castle, right? It's a zero trust model. So you have encryption everywhere, and you have that set up And so if you have those core things in place and you have the right problem identified that AI can actually solve, then you're taking a step in the right direction for the journey. Is that too cliche-ish?
No, that's all good. All good. Rob, anything to add there? Like what's working with AI and what isn't currently?
I think a lot is working. There's a lot not working on the use cases. People are going through a discovery process at the moment, but certainly, data. Data is key to all of this. And if you can get a strategy around that, and I love, by the way, what Google are doing around the integration of the products and everything else. That's really the key. You need everything talking together in a more efficient way, a more productive way, but you need that core data. So I would say, data is still not working despite all the years of people talking about it. And I also think that one of the things, there's a lot of hype around all these new terms and Gen AI and stuff is definitely something of interest. But I think it's education on the boards of these organisations and the senior management. I don't think that's always there from a tech perspective. And just keeping up with it, I mean, we've gone past the exponential now.
Yeah.
So you really need to have some very proactive boards with good information going into it about what the art of the possible is, because actually many of them can't see it, so they need help. So I think, a little bit of help and understanding, making data core to it, and then I think all these toolkits that come along, whether it be RPA, whether it be AI, whether it be Gen AI solutions, they will just automatically come from clean data.
Yeah, and what are some of those use cases? So we heard from a lot of companies earlier today and their use cases. Are there any that stand out or? Look, there's a lot of solutions. We saw 6 just earlier, right? There is a huge amount of solutions. I don't think there's going to be one killer Gen AI app. What I do see is a bunch of specialisms, whether it's compliance, whether it's HR, whether it's legal, whether it's operations. I can see technology being used in a very efficient way to connect the dots up easier and make regulation interpretation easier and things like that. But I don't think there's one killer app. And the reason for that is, not least of which, data and protection of data. And if you look at financial services, they all see themselves as, they all differentiate in some way, and they can't have these open, large language models that they're all sourcing from, because that doesn't give any differentiation. So I think we'll see a lot of specialisms, and I hope we do, because it will be enabling people and users and employees to work in a much more efficient way without spending hours and hours doing spreadsheets and everything else. You can actually spend and listen to your customers more. Exactly. Pritam, what do you think? Will there be a killer app for generative AI?
I don't know about killer app. I certainly think the way LLMs work, there are good use cases for that foundation model. And one of the sort of best ones that's emerging is sort of just coding, right?
Right.
Which will have an impact on banks as well and financial service institutions. And similar to why LLMs fit the coding use case well, we feel that, I've spoken about it before, financial advice or financial optimization is a problem that would suit an LLM pretty well. I think that could be pretty powerful. As far as real life use cases go that we've seen being implemented, it seems to mainly be sort of internal employee tools to access information.
Okay.
I still think it's very early days now.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to come up with a way to predict where AI is going to go. It's just that it's changing very fast. And it's not deterministic. You can't come up with like a Moore's law for AI. So I think everyone should just keep showing up to the party and do stuff. So yeah.
I mean, they are all showing up to the party, I think.
Yeah,
I don't think there's going to be one overarching killer app. It'll be thinking of building the pyramids one stone at a time. It's not going to just be a big pyramid. There'll be lots of building blocks along the way, and we're already seeing it. At the conference I referenced earlier, we had the chairman and CEO of Goldman Sachs, Mr. Solomon, come on board, and he talked about how they're using Gen AI for sentiment analysis, running these reports that would before take thousands of analysts to go through to provide their recommended investments, that they're converting in seconds. And you hear also sentiment at that level in the financial services industry from Jamie Dimon, everyone knows from JP Morgan, and he's talking about how this could be the next steam engine or its equivalent impact to the introduction of electricity. Yeah, but it's one light bulb at a time, one building block at a time, one steam engine at a time. Won't be one overarching, whoa, that just takes all use cases by storm. It'll be a collection of these small steps that added together are very significant.
Lovely, great. I think before we send you all off to lunch, one final question I wanted to ask was, ask all of you actually, is how can we empower banks and fintech firms or everybody in the industry that's feeling a little bit hesitant towards AI? How can we empower them to make real steps and not get caught up in the hype? I don't know who wants to take that one first.
Well, I think, as I said, I think having good advice and real technology input into your boards, but it comes from culture for me. It needs a top-down approach, and if you embrace technology and you embrace change, it's got nothing to fear. If you think of every industrial revolution we've been through, things have been exponentially better at the end of it. And I think it's just that culture of embracing change, not fearing it. Actually, if you boil down, and having worked in banks and financial institutions for 30 odd years, some of the work is incredibly boring. And actually, if you had more time to spend with clients or just letting your creativity flow, that's core. So culture and understanding of what the art of the possible for me.
Great, thank you. Pritam, same question to you.
I think companies should ask themselves two questions regarding Gen AI and the future models that come. Is this gonna fundamentally change our product offering? And is this gonna fundamentally change the way our business operates? And to get to the answers of those questions, I would really encourage CEOs or C-level people, even if they're not technical, to try to intuitively understand the actual working of the model, and so they can fit use cases around it. And I don't see any other way than doing lots of experiments to figure out what the most useful use case is. I mean, even OpenAI, if you take them, they don't fully understand why, when you use so much compute and sort of train their model on essentially probably most of the internet, why it has that magical sort of behavior and is so useful. They know that it does that. They had a hunch that it might do that, but they can't actually explain why it works exponentially better by going for scale with data. So yeah, I think just trying to understand the underlying models and developments could help, rather than relying on someone else telling you what the good or bad things are.
Lovely, thank you. And a concluding comment from you.
Okay, thank you. I think we have to take the fear out of AI wherever we can, and one of the things we're leaning in on is explainability AI. Because let's say you're working with a virtual assistant trying to get a loan or a mortgage, and there's that classic skip, little bird, and the computer says no. That's not acceptable, because you need to be able to share insights to the model itself that led to that decision for a better end user experience. And then on top of that, wherever possible, and it's a journey and we're getting better at this, is remove as many bias as you can. And one of the routes to doing that is grounding the AI and the models in something vast, which lots of legacy retail banks with 200 years of data can work on. But also technology providers. Some search companies have lots of vast data, potentially, as an example. So That's it. Take the fear out of AI, and the adaptability will be increased.
Lovely, thank you so much. So we've covered a lot today, and I'm sure the three guests will be at the show. So if you want to ask them any questions, feel free to find them. I'm just offering you up to everybody in the audience. But yeah, we've covered the digitalization journey. As Rob mentioned, the quantum of data is where we need to focus our energy. As Pritam said, you need to get your CEOs on board. And as Derek just mentioned, take the fear out of AI. And you can do that with explainability. So I'd like to say thank you, and please give our panelists a big round of applause for their time. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.